Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Blaze the Cat here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games for the Nintendo DS, or, for those of you who lived in Japan, Mario and Sonic at Vancouver Olympics. So yes, want to remind you guys for that. So, last time, we've essentially managed to explore into Sparkleton, able to tackle through some more missions, in addition to some occasional mini-games and what have you, such as, for instance, we're able to actually experience the mini-game for not only with Luigi, but as well as Peach as well, during the course of being Sparkleton and Frostown respectively. And speaking of which, we also manage to recruit Knuckles, and on top of all that stuff though, we also managed to take on Metal Sonic and during the likes of the forms of, well, rocket ski jumping and stuff like that. So overall, so far, we've actually got 6 playable characters so far out of 20, so this means we've got a whole ways to go. So yeah, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that we also manage to experience, I would classify for saying the first 2 dream events that we somehow experienced, which appears to be snow machine fights, alongside with the forms of rocket ski jumping. So yeah, everything else checks out there. So today, for this video, is that we're going to be continuing exploring through Sparkleton, to able to actually recruit with not only with one specific character, for what I've noticed anyway, but it's also about the fact that we can able to once again try to collect 4 of those crystals before we're able to progress onto the last stretch in terms of Sparkleton, until we can possibly try to able to rescue yet another snow spirit. So even then though, it doesn't take that long to able to get to this point, hasn't it? Especially concerning for the fact that despite we actually come across into a lot of mistakes occasionally though, due to the forms of input lag, but regardless of such though, is about the fact that I think we did this just fine. So anyway, so let's get on to the next mission, and it looks like we're about to be experiencing yet another dream event, which this time what appears to be ski shooting, which that's why we're able to actually have not only ski parts, but alongside with the forms of this particular rifle gun. So generally speaking, that way we can able to start shooting things, specifically shooting those targets. So either way though, and conveniently enough, we're actually going to be playing as Princess Peach, while at the same time trying to face off against with Daisy, which is kind of strange, concerning for the fact that we have not come across into Daisy for a while. Well, usually relatively speaking, I was about the fact that we shall see what happens during at some point in the next couple of weekends ahead. To be more specifically, I would classify for saying until next month, perhaps, if all depending on the forms of how the fact that eventually at some point, for the later progression of this particular version of the game, will start to get a little bit more lengthier. So either way, and I get the feeling about the fact that we only get out able to try to take down the, I would classify for saying those red targets as opposed to blue targets, because if I accidentally managed able to shoot the blue targets, that means that counts as mission failed. So either way though, but luckily though we did somehow succeed, so either way though, doesn't take me that long to try to able to accomplish that, and so much so we've only got one particular silver star ranking, which as a result, regardless, we got ourselves the 1 heart. So I could have imagined if I was trying to able to accomplish the gold medal emblem, but either way though, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, especially concerning for the fact that, well, generally speaking, I was about the fact that when it comes to ski shooting sometimes, it does feel a bit tricky sometimes when it comes to keep your combo going, because chances are though, if you keep on tapping the exact same colored targets, depending on what colored targets you might go after, chances are though is about the fact that you might actually have to build up the combo system, so just in case you're able to actually get the insane amount of points if you manage to do it well enough. So anyway, oh yeah, this is the pipe I was talking about right here ever since in the last video, because relatively speaking though, only Mario can able to actually enter one of those pipes, because obviously though Sonic, he's the only one can able to experience springs. So either way though, along with all the other stuff you know as well, which chances are though we'll save that particular topic until at some point until next month, or maybe a couple of days in between. So either way, a few things I want to talk about is about the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there is the 12th of January today, in some cases in 2025 today, so it looks like we've only got about 4 more days left until Donkey Kong Country Returns HD was expected to be releasing for the Nintendo Switch, And I'm sure enough though is about the fact that once we make our way to at some point on Tuesday for some time, basically though, I get the strong feeling that the review scores will turn up for that particular version of that game. So we'll have to wait and see what happens until that particular reception was actually going to go pretty swell, but I digress. So let's move on to the next dream event. As you can see, we actually have ourselves Supersonic Downhill. And as far as I'm aware, we're now on to the next mission. And basically, for this particular mission right here, we need to reach a certain amount of miles per hour when it comes to the amount of speed, as long as you were able to utilize with those mushrooms. So, although if you manage to get hit by the brick blocks, although, keep this in mind, that I keep on getting hit most of my time. And as you can see, since I actually got hit by one particular block, without any sort of shields equipped, this means you'll be basically disqualified. So, yeah, if you mess up at least once or quite a lot of times without any shields, then you're basically done. And as a result, you're basically guaranteed to be in instant 4th place or something like that. And as far as I'm aware, though, luckily there are tons of shields right near to the forms of those brick blocks that you can definitely try to avoid. So either way, though, yeah, it's definitely a little bit trickier as far as the event goes, because sometimes, though, you can't really see what's up ahead of you, because otherwise, if you're able to actually get yourselves the insane amount of speed, chances are, though, you might accidentally run into the forms of those brick blocks quite often. So anyway, there's another little teleporting pad right there, in case if you're curious. And as far as I'm aware, there's another warp pipe right here, which pretty much leads us to the ending portion of Sparkleton. But then again, we'll save that for later, because as you can tell, we are literally just at 2 crystals left until we're able to actually access to the last part of the forms of, well, it's not so much the last part just yet though, because as you can tell for the fact that with the top screen, on the map screen if you couldn't tell, there are still some clouds to be shown, which means about the fact that we still need to be able to actually access to one of those areas, assuming of course we do need to recruit more characters until eventually at some point. So either way, and would you look at that, we actually stumbled across into Amy Rose right here, and so much so that Toad did somehow literally did say Sonic's girlfriend, which is true for any circumstances, despite the fact that, well, obviously though Sonic was doesn't want to marry Amy during the forms of in the actual games themselves. Well, regardless of everything else though, despite with the forms of the Beast reality back in 2006, with this very questionable love interest decision, which appears to be Princess Elise, and so much so for the fact that I'm very appreciated for the fact that the actual timeline for Sonic 06 has been erased from its existence, or in some cases erase his story from canon, especially concerning for the fact that, well, hard for me to say honestly, because I know for the fact that, well, like what Silver has already mentioned about this ever since around 2 days ago, it's been about a whole year since we've last played Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 for the PlayStation 3/Xbox 360 versions. But regardless of everything else though, I get the feeling it may look like we have to persuade us to able to, well, I should say we have to, like, play as Tails in this particular mission, because according to the force of the transition, we can't select the character, so we have to force to play as Tails in this mission, which obviously though we have to beat Amy in ski shooting. Now, out of all the actual missions when it comes to recruiting characters and stuff like that, I feel like that this mission is actually really dang hard for me, especially concerning for the fact that, well, sometimes though it's about the fact that my touchscreen registration doesn't seem to go extremely perfectly well, and it's also worth noting for too is about the fact that Amy herself is doing really darn good in this event, which you'll know why if we get on to, well, let's just say, in ski shooting in particular, I believe we have to go through 4 different segments. So as a result though, the first part is nothing right to hum about. I mean, sometimes though it's about the fact that it does remind me like a similar vibes as in Dream Shooting from the first game on the DS, except this time around though we can't press the R or the L button this time in order to be able to shoot things. So I guess no matter what though, it's about the fact that unlike in the first game in particular, that it does manage to take place in Dream Castle, and it's also broken up into the forms of 3 different stages, whilst in here though, there's only like 4 stages this time around. So yeah, that's something worth noting for. So anyway, with that being said, there are some other discussions I would like to point things out, and that's what appears to be for the fact that yes indeed, that me and Silver did manage able to rearrange the actual shelving units when it comes to gaming physical stuff at this point in time. Like for instance though, we have basically decided to able to combine one of those shelving units for the sake of not only for the Nintendo DS, but also with the 3DS stuff all in one particular row this time. Well, that's just mainly because, as far as I'm aware though, that both the 3DS were able to actually have backwards compatibility with the Nintendo DS physical games here and there. And as far as Nintendo DS, as far as I'm concerned, despite with the forms of, well, with both the DSi and DSi XL, does not have any backwards compatibility, but if you do manage to have the DS Lite or Nintendo DS, the original model, back in 2004, it technically does have backwards compatibility with specifically the Game Boy Advance games, and as far as I'm aware, that basically that is about the fact that you get the idea what I'm talking about. So anyway, again, hard for me to explain honestly, because as you can tell, I have to focus on this from now on, just because I refuse to able to actually lose this mission, because otherwise, if I do lose this match, this means about the fact that not only do I have to take my heart away, but also about the fact that we have to go for this tedious slog again, which means about the fact that if you ever restart the entire mission, you have to go all the way back to round 1, all over again, and hopefully, God forbid, trying to able to become a lot more victorious. So, but it's definitely a little bit trickier to me though, just because, again, Amy is actually really darn good at this event. So either way, and as soon as you make your way to the final round right here, basically though, we actually come across into a camera from Sonic Heroes. I guess that makes it totally obvious for the sake of the fact that there are some, you know, plenty of references from the likes of any other Sonic games in the past, like Sonic the Hedgehog, all the way up to, let's just say, technically, Sonic and the Black Knight, because as far as I'm aware, that Sonic and the Black Knight did came out in the exact same year as in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games within 2009. So, yeah, that's as far as I was expecting for this point. So, and you can able to actually technically try to able to destroy the egg hammer if you wanted to, but chances are though, the only reward you do get is that there are multiple targets coming out of this little water holes and all that stuff. So yeah, that's the only thing it's worth noting for. But luckily though, we did somehow manage to claim victory right here, and so much so we've got 3 hearts. So this means we're able to actually guaranteed about the fact that once we make our way to the next island, I would able to actually say this right now, it is definitely possible we can able to make our way to a maximum amount of those hearts within 99 maximum at minimum. So anyway, so now we've actually beaten Amy, and it looks like that she was about to join in with us. So now I'm pretty sure we're now on to 7 playable characters so far in terms of adventure tours so far out of 20. And no matter what though, it looks like we're on to the halfway point in terms of recruiting those characters from the all-around types. So, and yeah, for those of you probably wondering about the fact that with any other characters in particular, much like the forms of how it does on the previous game, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, both on the Wii or DS, basically though, those particular playable characters are categorized into different types. Like, for example, Mario, Luigi, Amy, and Blaze, as well as the newcomer of the group, Bowser Jr., all these characters are basically all-around type characters. And meanwhile, for the speed types we're able to actually have is Sonic, Shadow, Daisy, Yoshi, and a newcomer, Metal Sonic. And on top of all that stuff though, when it comes to skill types, we're able to actually have Tails, Dr. Eggman, Waluigi, Peach, and a newcomer, Silver the Hedgehog. It's no use! Okay, I got to stop that particular infamous line, but anyway. And finally though, when it comes to power types though, we're able to actually have Bowser, Wario, Knuckles, Vector, and finally the newcomer of the actual power type department, and that's what appears to be none other than Donkey Kong. So yeah, because kind of thing about it though, back then, especially in 2009, that was actually a pretty big deal when it comes to introducing new playable characters whenever they got the next game in the series. And as far as I'm aware though, it continues that tradition until specifically when Rio 2016 rolls around, that we're able to actually get ourselves plenty of playable characters. Like, 40 of them for the likes of the 3DS version, and if I can recall correctly, like 34 unplayable characters from the Wii U version or something, and eventually at some point with the Tokyo 2020 installment as well. But either way. So as you can see, we've come across into yet another minigame where it involves around you take control of Amy to able to actually smack one of those specific corresponding icons until you're able to actually get the gate activated. And then once you insert those particular, or trying to hit those correct icons correctly and activate that particular top button of the top part of the switch, basically though, you would able to actually activate the gate opening. So and at this point in onwards though, is about the fact that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on backtracking sometimes, especially if you're trying to able to actually access to other areas in particular for familiar locales, such as for instance with Frostown, if you can tell. And it looks like we're going to be going on to the I might as well give this mission a shot. Especially that we might be able to select Amy for this mission. Especially concerning for the fact that, well, obviously though, if I see that there was actually a 0 number counter of certain missions have been completed, obviously though, I might be able to actually go for that particular character for that particular choice. So, and it looks like we're about to be raced up against with any other girl players except with Luigi, because as far as I'm aware, the only missing player for this particular race though is obviously Princess Peach, but I suppose beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Especially concerning for the fact that at this point as well, that we've almost got every single all-around type characters apart from Mario and Bowser Jr. So, I guess it doesn't really matter to the grand scheme of things, but still. But anyway, so let's go and deal with this little shooting range here, and just to ensure we're able to get this accurate shots, just in case we don't want to get any single penalties for this run. And it turns out, huzzah, we did that perfectly. So that means we can now able to use 3 sprints all in one particular, well, button press, as far as I was trying to able to explain about this, but sometimes though is about the fact that it's been quite some time since I actually have last played this game, because as you know, that I was being busy playing through not only Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, just trying to get this last few bits done, and also say applies with the forms of Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U version as well, despite the fact that we can no longer try to able to actually play online anymore, just because, you know, Nintendo Network has officially rest in peace ever since in almost about a year ago, since on the April the 8th in 2024. So yeah, it seems pretty crazy all things considered, especially it's a shame as well, because obviously though we can no longer play any other online content for Super Mario Maker anymore, which just kind of sucks honestly, because obviously though that would able to get ourselves a huge opportunity to able to actually experience any other content for the likes of not only event stages, but as well as from that though, anything else in particular. So oh well though, but I suppose no matter what though, at least we got Mario Maker 2, which that's alright I guess, but at least we able to actually still got ourselves the world designer, and on top of all that stuff that we can still able to experience online on the Nintendo Switch, because as far as you probably already know, obviously though, because you know, the Nintendo Network has officially been dead, alongside with the forms of back in 2017 with the Miiverse support, which as a result though, just because of inappropriate stuff has been happened, so as you might expect it. So anyways, let's get back into the forms of cross-country event right here to tackle for the next mission. And it looks like we're about to be competed against with not only with myself right here, such as Blaze the Cat, but alongside with that there's also Tails, and you pretty much name the rest of it. So, and it may look like, for the sake of the forms of this mission anyway, even though it's hard for me to explain because I clearly do not pay attention to the forms of the brief description for it. Well, that's just mainly because, as far as I'm aware though, I just want to able to actually get these missions done just before I move on to the next world in particular. So, anyways though, back into what I was saying about the forms of, some more stuff has been revealed so far, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that I've already mentioned about this before, that that Lego is going to be getting a Game Boy Lego set, and that's going to be due out at some point until sometime in October this year. I'm not exactly sure when exactly though, but I'm very curious to know, especially concerning for the fact it's been a very long time for me though, since I actually have last brought something related to Lego since Lego Super Mario, and technically with the forms of cosmetic skins for the likes of Sonic Superstars, for the likes of the DLC as far as I'm concerned, but either way, yeah, that's basically what I can really say about it. Let's move on to the next discussion I would like to point things out, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, did you guys know, for those of you who lived in the UK, as a matter of fact, that Mr. Bean, you know, with that particular television program that has been out for a very long time, you know, with the live-action version, that features that familiar actor that he did the voice of Zazu from the original The Lion King, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Basically though, that particular TV series, the live-action Mr. Bean, was actually been around for 35 years, which is pretty crazy, all things considered. Well, mind you, I have seen some episodes in particular, but not all of them, mind you. That's mainly because, as far as I'm aware though, that it's kind of impossible to able to actually watch the full episodes in particular into that particular YouTube composition, but I do know there was actually a YouTube channel for it, so it's not the end of the world, especially concerning for the fact that I might as well give that particular TV series a chance, especially concerning for the fact that, okay, oh jeez, that was a close one, because if you did get a nothing, basically though you failed immediately, so yeah, I just want to classify that, especially it's all about timing based as well, and generally speaking I was about the fact that it's also incredibly luck based sometimes, which is all depending on the timing skills. So anyway, the next thing I want to point out is that obviously though, in addition about the fact that ever since around a couple of days ago, despite the fact there's still no luck of Nintendo Switch successor, but then again though, it's not going to be exist until probably later down the road after the forms of that particular financial results meeting, and on top of all that stuff though, we have to wait and see what happens in due time, especially because at this point in time, much like the forms of how it does it for to me though, ever since and technically in 2020, there's nothing else coming out for it in terms of 2025 apart from Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which as to be expected it's still going to be coming. And in addition to that though, just any other surprises I would really love to see, but then again though, it's just about the fact that rumors and leaks keeps on just popping out of the existence, and you probably get the idea for this point. So anyway, the next thing I want to discuss upon, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, well, obviously we actually got ourselves a new trailer for the likes of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which by the looks of the title of the trailer was actually called The Year of 2045, and so much so for the fact that that game is going to be future realistic kind of type of timeline or something like that. Oh jeez, isn't that Dry Bowser? Okay, I'm almost assuming he was going to be appeared at the very end of the game, but who knows, he's actually appeared from the get-go this time. So either way, because unlike the Wii version, that he always appears on day 16 in the Wii version on Festival mode, either on the single version or the Team Festival mode, like basically though you can able to only compete against with Dry Bowser in Ice Hockey, for what I've noticed. So anyway, back to what I was saying about the forms of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, it may look like on the Nintendo eShop and my Nintendo Store, it may look like about the fact that there's going to be some additional content if you do manage to able to receive the in-game exploration support pack, which I suppose that's generally a DLC for it, which basically does contain some bonus items ranging from 100,000 credits, and melee weapon, which appears to be advanced iron knife. Okay, that seems kind of devastating. Ranged weapon, advanced storm assault rifle, and survival armor series, survival goggles, survival body wear with survival glove R, and survival glove L, and survival footwear. And meanwhile, in terms of the forms of the weapon arrangements, we're able to actually have 6 weapon arrangements ranging from melee accuracy up 1, ranged accuracy up 1, melee attack up 1, and ranged attack up 1, and Fury Rate Slayer 1, and finally secondary CD Reducer 1. So And finally though, in terms of the forms of the DLC they'll somehow contain, that's what appears to be 5 armor arrangements ranging from max HP 1, or max HP up 1, and max TP up 1, and invasion up 1, and potential up 1, and physical up 1, or something like that. Well, mind you, that's only mainly because no matter what though, it's just about the fact that, well, having too many ups just almost feels a bit kind of mishy-mashy when it comes to my lip syncing and stuff. So anyway, so let's go ahead and face off against with Dry Bowser in Supersonic Downhill, and so much so for the fact that, again, if you get hit by at least one of those brick blocks without any shields equipped, obviously though you will fail this instantly. So, but apart from those side things though, when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby. So, and kind of thinking about it though, there is technically one more dream event, skiing event we'll come across into at some point, but for now, I guess no matter what though, we've somehow experienced 4 of those dream events so far in the DS version of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games so far. So generally speaking though, we've already beaten Dry Bowser, despite the fact that I almost get myself my best results with the actual gold frame. But, oh well, beggars can't be choosers though, especially it's not going to be a full 100% playthrough, but I will say, I will try my best able to tackle through every single missions of this game actually has to offer. So, either way, so it may look like that Dry Bowser just somehow runs off, and I'm sure enough though is about the fact that much like Eggman Nega, then obviously though he's probably not going to give up anytime soon. But for now, looks like we're about to be receiving the next Snow Spirit, which appears to be Polar. So, almost like a Polar kind of vibes to it. But either way, so, again, there's nothing else I can really say, apart from the fact that there's also another thing I would like to point out, is that according to the forms of the Hollywood handle, they may look like, I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but Ben Schwartz, the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog with the most recent Sonic movies at the time, he wants a Sonic and Mario movie with Chris Pratt, which I was like, that could potentially be a cool idea, but it's one of those speculations about the fact it could either be true or not, depending on the forms of if they feel like it. So, anyways though, now I suppose there was actually the final thing I want to point things out in terms of this news and discussions alike, before we're able to actually end off the video there. Well, not just yet though, obviously, because after all, we can now able to actually access to the next island, which as a result though, it's hard for me to pronounce it sometimes though, but I will try my best able to pronounce it on my spare own time, just to ensure for the fact that I want to get these words right. But either way, we can now able to actually access to yet another cannon, as we saw from the likes of the first island for the likes of Frostown. So anyway, let's get into the forms of my final point of the forms of this whole discussion. It may look like that the new Punch-Out game might not happen, future in doubt, but that's just mainly because, as far as I'm aware, they somehow managed able to get a backlash against characters in the Wii game relating to stereotypes, high sales, and potentially with other games in particular, which, gee, no wonder why we actually haven't had a new Wario Land game for a very long time, especially if what I've noticed is that Wario Land The Shake Dimension, or Wario Land Shake It, for those of you who lived in North America, apparently that game does not sell nearly as well compared to the forms of how it does it for not only with Super Mario Galaxy, but as well as Super Mario Galaxy 2, because I already know for the fact that those games are a huge success when it comes to both Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, including several honorable mentions like Mario Party 8, and in addition to that, there's also Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and pretty much any other Wii games for that matter, including Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, but that's just mainly because that was the start of the Mario and Sonic crossover series. Well, usually despite the fact that it ends up in a decline, Journey Evolves have been sometime in 2019, and that's basically how I can really say about this, I guess. So, yeah, kind of a shame, honestly, that we're never actually going to be getting ourselves a new Punch-Out game, especially after that particular backlash of that particular things I discussed upon earlier. So, and also, the last thing I want to say is about the fact I can't believe we're almost there to the halfway point in terms of January before we move on to February. Well, keep that in mind though, is about the fact that we still have no idea what's gonna happen for the likes of February at this point, because I'm really hoping that Nintendo were able to actually bring back the standard general Nintendo Directs, because I have to admit though right away, at the end of the day, I'm still not a big fan of partner showcases now, especially concerning for the fact that, well, don't get me wrong, it is an interesting concept, especially ever since in Journey Evolves have been kind of thing about it though is that the partner showcase was firstly introduced for almost 5 years ago now, especially that was during the Evolves have been a pandemic year. But either way, let's not talk about this right now, just because 2025 might give us some hopes and expectations I was really hyped about. But either way though, and it looks like that this place is going to be quite slippery around here, which as a result though, luckily there's no way we can able to fall in the water or anything, just because there's a lot of invisible barriers around us, so chances are though, at least we'll be safe for now. So with that being said folks, is that we get endings up this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games for the Nintendo DS, is that we're going to be exploring into the next island, which apparently we're going back into Winter Island and tackle for some more events, more missions, and get some more crystals. So I'll see you guys until on next Saturday. Later fellas.